Has come finally for Kentucky Derby Live, America's best racing, live from Churchill Downs inside the TwinSpires Tent on Thurby, kicking off 3 days of coverage.
And how fun is it that Thurby falls on Cinco de Mayo?
I know, this is going to be, and you've got the right drink right next to you too. You haven't opened it yet. What's up with that?
Well, I was going to actually crack this once I got a winner, but you know what? Maybe I should start to get my my party on now.
Absolutely. Get started now. You look at the bottom of the screen. There are a bunch of promos that are going to be running here. Because we are working with TwinSpires, you got a $200 bonus, sign-up bonus for new customers. That's just one promo. If you're a fan of ABR, use promo code ABR25, you get a $25 free bet. There's also this promo behind us, which is money back if your horse finishes second or third. That's for a $10 bet in lots of races this weekend. It starts right now, so if you haven't signed up, check it out. You could even probably scan that barcode over me. I got to move a little bit, I guess, for you to get it. But we're going to be handicapping.
Yes.
We're going to be drinking, obviously.
Yes.
We're just going to be having a good time. So welcome in. Welcome to the show. I'm ready to kick things off. We've got 3 races we're doing today.
Yes.
Starting with...
We're opening with the opening verse. How great is that?
The opening verse. What do you think, Ren? How do you look at this race? There are a bunch of scratches. Chaotic.
Yes, it is chaotic. So you know what? I'm going to try to make some stash with Hidden Stash, I think.
All right.
The 3 horse. And he was a horse that we saw on the Derby Trail, on the dirt. Then he is on this long layoff. He hadn't raced since the Kentucky Derby of 2021. Comes back at a track that is near and dear to me, Tampa, Bay Downs. And they tried him on the turf, Victoria Oliver, and I thought he ran pretty well there. I mean, the 2 horses they finished behind, Cheryl's Spite. I mean, Cheryl's Spite, we just saw that horse win the Maker's Mark, Grade 1 winner now. And then the other horse, Carpenter's Call, that's a really nice athlete for Gerald Bennett, who, I mean, a beautiful horse, a formidable type. So I think Hidden Stash has a live look here.
So when I looked at this race initially, the thing that stood out to me is that there wasn't a whole lot of pace. And I'm looking at this race now, and there's even less pace. And so the only horse that I could see actually getting out to the lead is the 5 horse,
Mr. Dumont.
Yeah, that's okay, all right.
Well, because otherwise it doesn't sound as nice, right?
It doesn't. So maybe the 5 I think gets out to the lead. Another horse who I kind of liked on a wet track, which didn't pan out. By the way, we got to talk weather in a bit.
Well, of course.
Was Max KO. I thought it was the horse, the 11 horse, who could kind of rally for a piece of it. Speaking of weather, we've got a couple of different angles we want to show you around the track. Let's take a look at the shots right now, the TwinSpires. There, the beautiful American flag.
Love it.
You see right there. The forecast originally had a ton of rain today. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet, but it could happen any moment. We also have another camera here that you're looking at, which is our TwinSpires GoPro-ish cam. We don't know. The next few days, there are going to be a ton of people in that exact spot. And you can expect a lot of revelry to be taking place. And by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be catching up with correspondent Rachel Miller in a few moments to get a sense of the vibe out there. But right now, we have from the Saratoga Special managing editor, Tom Law. Tom, we told you we're going to put you on the spot right off the bat. Who do you like in this race?
I heard you talking about Max KO. Handicapped it even before the scratches, and that's who I liked.
Okay.
Irad Ortiz gets on for Saffie Joseph. I mean, 10-1 on the morning line. You knew that was going to be hampered significantly when Set Piece came out and some of the others. But still 7-2 the last I checked. That's good value there. I did hear Ren talk a little bit about the 3 Hidden Stash. Another good price play for me. I mean, I'm tossing the 5. So I'm going 11-3. Hidden Stash, you know, she said it all. I mean, certainly a horse with a lot of class. Has run pretty good races on the grass. Tampa, those grass races at Tampa are tough.
Yes, they are.
This horse ran well. Bejarano in there, and I do like the 9, Grace Fable, Roger Atfield. Of course, he's having a great spring. His horses are running well.
Yes.
Luis Saez on the grass is a good play. He's a little short at 9-5, but hey, you got the value on the top and the second spot.
So we're looking at monitors here.
Yeah.
If you're watching from home, we're obviously encouraging you to be watching on TwinSpires.
That's right.
Horses are getting close to the gate right now. We've got about a minute or so. Just to recap, Ren, how are you approaching this? And by the way, this was a very tricky race to do because what happened was we were expecting rain. So I actually handicapped for an off track initially, for soft ground.
Yeah.
We don't have that now. We have firm ground. We have very little speed. How would you bet this race on TwinSpires right now?
Well, right now, I think I would use the same horses you all are talking about, but I would do his stash on top. The problem I have, Grace Fable, I just wonder if this horse is not exactly the same horse as he was. We see that, they're going with the same sort of pattern that they did last year with the Appleton. And in that off the bench start, he was able to wire the field, show some real speed. Wasn't able to do it this time. Maybe he just needed one, but because he has run so well fresh before and been able to show that type of foot, I'm just a little curious if now at 7 years old he's just maybe lost a step.
Yeah, it could be. I put the race up here in front of us so we could watch it. We are watching on TwinSpires right now, where again we encourage you this weekend only, $200 sign-up bonus. ABR 25 for a free $25 bet, and this thing behind us, money back. Because if you're like me, I'm assuming like you, your horses are always running second and third, you get your money back. So
can't beat it. Yeah, guaranteed bet.
I love
Cannot beat it. So look, Tom, we're going to ask you for a little bit of play-by-play, right? When the gates open, you're going to tell us what's going on.
First of all, I'll tell you, opening verse is very near and dear to me. I was here at the Breeders' Cup in '91 when he won the mile.
So now you're speaking.
All right, now they're off. We got the 9. The 11's getting hustled away out of there, like I hoped.
Yep.
Irad, Max KO, they're going, doing a little bit with Gray's Fable here. You need a whole race call or no?
Yeah,
Spanish Kingdom right in the, kind of sitting in that pocket. Somebody's covered up down there, the 5. Oh, you got the monitor right here.
Yeah, but you didn't have to look that far.
I'm trying to go over the big screen. I love the big screen here at
this,
Churchill.
By the way, is, I mean, again, these were the 2 horses we figured to be out front. So
yeah, Saez is good in this kind of spot right here. Take a nice long hold. The 11's got a nice long hold in here.
What do you think of the action of the
10
10
and 5?
Ren?
I'm not liking it. They're
the
kind of bunching up,
like
jamming up in there. Yeah, especially the 5.
Yeah. 5 wants his running room.
Yeah.
So
those lanes will open up a little bit for me. 23 and 4 to the quarter. They're probably going to go to the half here in about 47, 48. It looks like kind of bunching up a little bit. Yeah,
should be
47
pretty reasonable.
4.
They slowed it down a little bit.
Yeah. This is a good spot though for Saez. I mean, he's tough from here. I mean, it's a half mile to home.
Yeah.
On that good firm ground.
I should say, as we're watching, you're hearing some people screaming in the background. Inside the TwinSpires tent, everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
This is an
Come
open
party.
tent for
It's
people.
a great spot out here.
Yep. So if you're here today, tomorrow, Saturday,
Let my
come on
horse
by.
out. Maybe you're not good enough.
Oh,
but
hidden stash is
him
rolling
out.
a little bit. Yeah, but this horse.
Nah, great.
Saez is tough on the lead.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you kind of knew because when he got that half at 47 and 4, I mean,
Now you're going to be second here, Ren.
That's
no,
a good
I'm getting
exacta.
pat. Oh, here he comes.
Oh.
Maybe he gets up.
Go!
Oh. Good pick. Good pick.
That was a really good pick. Hey, had this race gone off as scheduled with all the runners running, there would have been more pace pressure on that horse, and hidden stash wins.
Well,
probably.
here's the thing, and this is, I mean, going forward, sometimes
13-1.
Yes,
Great
thank
call,
you.
Ren.
Well, you know who I had run at a big price during your Woodstock Stakes is the Asmussen horse.
Yeah, which I'm blanking on right now.
I can't think of the horse's
we
name
we
either.
are we are like 30 years after that now. Even though that was last Sunday, I
Woodstock
forgot
days?
entirely. Yeah,
Woodstock's
exactly.
even further back than 30
no
years.
one remembers Woodstock.
You knew the 9 was going to get away with it when he was able to go 47 and 93 100, so just below a 48 half. When this is a horse who could put in a 46 and change.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
A couple of lessons there.
Yes.
Pace, as you mentioned. Pace. You always analyze these races by looking at how many horses are likely to go to the front. Are they going to press each other? Is the pace going to be hot? Are they going to wear each other? Is it going to set up for closers? Or is there no pace? Like in a race like this where you had minimal pace to begin with, and a couple of horses who could have potentially shown speed scratched out of the race. It really set up for this horse, and you combine that with the good handicapping that you did, you got a nice exacta here, a 2-to-1 shot over a 13-to-1 shot. So good start for Kentucky Derby Live.
And I would get
on
my
Thurby
money
Day.
back because my horse ran second.
And you get your money back. You get your money back for finishing second right there at 13-to-1, which is really nice.
Awesome.
So we are going to be doing this show tomorrow. We're going to be doing this show on Saturday. You're busy. You got to do work.
I think I'm going to wear a tie this weekend.
You're going to actually dress up a little bit.
I've been working. I came from the barns this morning. I've been going at it all day.
But I know you. I look. It's probably too much information, but we're sharing an abode together. We are staying
bunked up.
together.
Yeah, we got a nice house.
We sleep. Our heads are about 10 feet from each other these days. You aren't going to be with us on this show tomorrow and Saturday.
Sweet.
So
Bombs away.
Tell us.
Bombs away.
Give us an Oaks pick. Give us a Derby pick.
I picked Echo Zulu in the Oaks.
Okay.
She's the speed, obviously the controlling speed in there. Definitely needed the last race. And I like the horse that was second for Hidden Connection. I like her a little bit. So it's a lot of people kind of disrespecting her comeback, but she hadn't run since the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
Fairgrounds a little bit tiring kind of place to make a comeback. Good race in there, and then the Derby I picked Zandon.
Okay.
Chad Brown's horse looked good all week to me. Here I didn't have a Derby horse the whole time I was here. Until I got here, and I was like, oh, I forgot. When you get here, everyone says, who's your Derby horse? Who's your Derby horse? And I'm like, but I really like to see him first. I'm not I don't think I'm the greatest judge of horse flesh in that way, but, I like to see him. I like to see the energy levels, just kind of get the mood and get the kind of the buzz around the barn, if you will. So Zandon's the one.
Well, what is the buzz around the Crown Prince? I'm just curious because I don't know quite what to make of him. The pedigree's exquisite, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you're inbred to Sunday silence.
Yeah.
But
interesting. His training is cool.
Yeah.
We do it kind of our way here in America, but there's a lot of different ways to train horses. We've seen that with success with the Japanese horses, obviously in the Breeders' Cup, and what they've been able to do in Europe over the many years, not just a recent phenomenon. It goes out and jogs around, does some dressage in the chute.
I love it.
Kind of gallops around. I mean, how is it not healthy for a horse to be outside the stall for, a couple hours a day? That's just a great thing.
Do you know who else they did dressage with? Seattle Slew.
Oh.
Yeah, well, he was all right.
Yeah, I would say so.
He did okay.
Yeah, hey, he won here.
You did okay too, Tom.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now is, as we mentioned, this is a festival of everything. It's a festival of gambling, first and foremost.
That's right.
There is music, as you can hear.
Nathaniel Ratliff in the Night Sweats. I just saw him. I was over there.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You're getting around. There's drinking. There's all of it. There's also fashion. And standing by with a little bit of a look at the fashion scene here at the Kentucky Derby on Kentucky Derby weekend on Thurby is Rachel Miller. Rachel, who are you with?
All right. Thanks so much, Dan. I am still personally reeling a little bit from Ren's reaction that last race. So hopefully this break gives her a chance to emotionally recover, prepare for the next race. So today's my first Thurby, and in the infield, the scene is all about the music that you can probably hear in the background, the drinking, and obviously the fashion. So had to pull Nicole, is your name? Yes. Aside because the look, the hat piece, we need to know more. Tell us about it.
So I actually make hats and fascinators, so I kind of have a leg up on everyone else. I made this about 30 minutes before I left to come here today, so.
No. 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I can't even put on mascara and curl my hair in 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was kind of a rush job, but I needed to come make an appearance at Thurby since it's probably going to be the only rain-free day we have, so.
Okay, well, you still look like $1 million. And another thing that I noticed, this tattoo. So this is, again, my first Derby. That is a long-standing fan, has got to be.
Yeah.
What Derby is this going to be for you?
14.
14th, you guys. And do you have a pick yet?
I don't. There's too many. I kind of like, I'm kind of leaning towards Tis the Bomb, but we'll see. We'll see how my bets go tomorrow or in the next day.
All will be revealed on Saturday. Well, thanks so much for chatting with us. I'm going to be back here again on Saturday, looking into more of the lifestyle, more of the fashion, the fun, the drinking. So circle back with us then, 1 p.m. on Saturday. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Rachel. Very nice job there from Rachel Miller.
That's right.
Her debut here
Oh
on
my gosh.
the ABR live shows. Hey, she's picking Tis the Bomb.
Hey, Tis the Bomb could be explosive. I mean, think about the pari-mutually speaking, right? And why not? You've got that great pedigree. It's surface flexible. I think it could happen. Why not?
Why not?
And I gotta tell you, I think she looked like, talk about, bombshell. She looks gorgeous.
She does. And you see a lot of just spectacular fashion out here. I am not dressed my best today. I'm just wearing a little
Come
ball
on,
cap.
you're representing. I love
I think
it.
people know I typically wear the Christine Moore hats, and so I'll get to that in the next few days. But let's get to some more betting because you just gave us a 13-1 shot who finished second, which, as you mentioned.
What do you think the official margin was, by the way? A head, neck?
I was going to say less
Tordjman-
than a length, but if you want to get that specific, I
think
can't
we
do
were pretty
that.
close.
Yeah, we were pretty close.
So I feel like I'm already a winner today because I at least gave that for you for your exotics if you didn't trust me on top. So cheers.
Cheers.
To that.
Seeing you drink a White Claw brings me so much joy. It's like so hard to
I
explain.
know because I'm
but-
usually drinking the Prosecco, right?
We talked about before the show started, this is going to be a show about the races today, the races tomorrow, but really
Yeah.
everyone here cares about the Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
And so we want to start talking about some of the top contenders. As we know, this horse you see on your screen right now, Epicenter,
Yep.
is getting a lot of buzz, came in with a lot of buzz. I think some people might be a little afraid of his post-show, but of course, trainer Steve Asmussen in, winning his trainer in North America, looking for his first Kentucky Derby win. Epicenter, his best shot in a very, very long time. Wondering what you think about this horse.
I don't know why people are apprehensive about the post, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be quite as an obstacle to overcome now that we have the inclusive gates. We don't have the auxiliary anymore. This horse has natural early foot where he's able to be tactical with it.
Yep.
So I think he can get away and establish position, and I don't think he's basically going to be a slave to what he's drawn. I think that the only thing is obviously you want to get out sharply, but I mean you could have drawn into the middle of the gate. You could have what's considered to be the perfect post, and then something happens out when the gates open and a horse to your outside or inside bumps into you. So.
Yep. No, look, we're all, I think, programmed to believe those inside posts and those outside posts are just the most difficult to overcome. We shall see. Now, the other big favorite in the race is a horse named Zandon. So we haven't seen the odds yet for the Kentucky Derby. I think they usually trickle out about tonight or tomorrow. That's when the odds become live, early tomorrow. Is that right?
I thought the morning line, I was actually surprised that Epicenter was not your morning line favorite.
Yeah.
I know there wasn't much separating them, but still, I thought Epicenter had established himself. Yes, I know Zandon had problems when they had met up against each other, but I still felt that Epicenter would have been your morning line favorite.
Yeah.
But
well, I think maybe it's just recency bias.
Could
and
be.
what happened most recently was Zandon winning the Bluegrass
That's
Stakes.
right.
So let's take a quick look back at how he did it.
Smile Happy now takes aim from the outside. Here's Smile Happy to take the lead from Emmanuel into the final furlong, and Zandon is running late. Zandon has moved through all kinds of traffic from the back of the pack, and he is now taking command in deep stretch. It's over. Zandon wins the Toyota Bluegrass with a dramatic stretch run for Flavian Pratt. Smile Happy had to settle for second, 1 minute 50.35 seconds.
So that right there is your buzz horse. Zandon drew the 10 post. People seem to be really excited about him all week long. We've been here. Is Zandon the horse?
not for me, but I will say that part of what I do think is the appeal of this horse is Flavian Pratt.
Yeah, yeah.
Flavian is riding lights out.
He is.
And this is a jockey. Part of the reason why he's at the top of the game is because he doesn't fall prey to the nerves. He's able to ride a horse with patience, with purpose, and I think that is part of the reason why he is so successful. And I spoke with him for one of the Kentucky Derby previews that we did for ABR, and he was talking about how, of course, he would like to get the Kentucky Derby victory actually crossing the wire in front.
Yeah, look, we all remember, like Country House for me, it didn't really matter how it happened. The fact that it happened, I cashed one of my biggest Derby bets of my life, so I'm hoping we could do it again. And I like a long shot, who I think you also like, and we're going to get into that in a little bit when we reveal our picks here.
I will say about Zandon, what I did like to see in the Bluegrass is he took a little bit of bumping, and he kept on going straight, did not get deterred by that.
He did. Smile Happy's the other horse. I know you spoke to Mattress Mac,
That's
right?
right, yes.
He's got a little bit of an interest in how that horse
I
does.
would think so, yes. And one of the things that people tend to forget, yes, Run Happy, his sire, a champion sprinter, but don't forget Run Happy himself by Super Saver, a Kentucky Derby winner.
Absolutely. And that's a little foreshadowing because I think we both like a Pletcher too that we might want to talk about in a minute. So as we turn the page here, we're going to take a look at what's upcoming at Churchill Downs. There are a few more races that are part of this show right here, which is our Thurby Live show presented by TwinSpires. And the next race up really is just right in your wheelhouse, Ren. It's the Kentucky Juvenile 2-year-old horses. You are the queen of pedigree.
Oh, thank you.
And we need you to set this up for us. How do you figure out which 2-year-old horse? All these horses have run either once or have never run. How the heck do you know which one's going to run best here?
Complete transparency. I personally don't start playing the 2-year-olds until about June.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel we're going to see a better representation of what they can do on track in relation to the pedigree they have.
Yeah.
This early in the game, it's just simply about the precociousness. So you could have a ton of black type in the pedigree, but it's going to be the horse who's just relative to a number of horses who have won at 2 years old themselves that's going to have the edge over that horse with just the blue blood catalog page, right?
Yeah.
That being said, we do have some very interesting horses from the pedigree perspective in this race. And I don't know where you want to start with that, but I am happy to.
Yeah, so we'll get a first look at live
Elaborate.
odds here in a moment. They're about to flash the odds on the screen, and we'll let you know who's the favorite and who's not. By the way, we're staying with you through the 10th race, which is the Unbridled Sydney. A very, very good betting race. More in my wheelhouse, not 2-year-old. So I don't have to make sort of a guess and try to act like I understand pedigree as well as you do. And we also have a couple of guests upcoming. And I do want to remind you, if you're looking at the bottom of the screen, go to TwinSpires.com, use that promo code BET200. You're going to get a $200 bonus for signing up this weekend. Details at the bottom. Go there, use that promo code. Additional promo code ABR25 gets you $25 extra money, risk-free bet. And then again, this thing behind us, money back if your horse finishes second or third. Just got to opt in for that. Super, super easy.
And if you had listened to me, you could have had
your
money
at a
back.
minimum your money back. And if you bet win place, you would have made some cash because you would have gotten that place money. And so here
I
we
try
go.
to give the people what they want.
Here are the live odds. It looks like opening up as the favorite here.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. The horse put up the horse put up a giant figure on debut. They're scoring by 11 and a half lengths at Santa Anita. Now, we do have to consider that state-bred competition. We also have to consider this is a filly. She's now going up against males. There are a few other fillies in this race. So, I don't know. I personally would bet against her.
So you're betting against. So we're talking about Tom's Regret.
Yes.
Is that the horse we're betting? So that's your favorite right now at 5-2. Ren is going to bet against the favorite.
Yes.
So listen closely. Here is why.
Well, like I said, I mean, so you've got a filly. It's not that the fillies can't beat the boys. I've actually talked to Wesley Ward, who actually has a filly in this race in Hurricane Debbie, the 11 horse, who, by the way, won her debut by 8 lengths there at Keeneland, going 4.5. He made a great point because he's somebody who's never really shied from throwing a filly in against the boys. He says it's because this early in the year, the fillies are in many instances, both physically and mentally, more mature than the boys are. So I get it from again that perspective. That being said, and this is going to sound contrary to what I just told you, but I am very fascinated by the 4-horse Ferrari Kid.
Wow. So wait, 22-1. 22-1. Remember, money back guarantee here if your horse finishes second or third. She's giving you a 22-1 shot. I think you have nothing to lose here. You may as well go right now to TwinSpires and make this bet on the 4-horse.
I mean, why not? And the reason is it's the pedigree, and it's actually pretty relevant to this weekend because Ferrari Kid, who by the way is going blinkers on today, and stretching out from a 2-furlong win, the mom there produced a horse named Checkered Past. Checkered Pass, multiple stakes winner in Canada, but also Checkered Pass is the dam of Messier.
Okay.
So basically, Ferrari Kid's half-sister is Messier's mom.
Okay, and Messier, again, for those tuning in, just getting acquainted with this Derby weekend, Messier is probably going to be one of your favorites for the Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
That's right, and we do have the precociousness in the pedigree because the family's also the family of champion 2-year-old filly in Canada, Catch the Thrill. And so it's a really good family. The grandmother here is champion Catch the Ring. So that's a horse that I would think at a giant price is one who could potentially upset in here.
I'm hoping the people watching are retaining some of this.
I know,
at the very least, if they're not, the only thing you have to take away from this is that you should bet the 4-horse Ferrari Kid.
Ferrari Kid, zoom.
And you could always watch this on replay. You could zoom, kind of replay it and figure out, take notes.
And if not today, again, this is a horse who has a pedigree that you might want to watch going forward.
I had notes, so I was trying to hang with you on pedigree, so I took some notes.
Okay,
of course, I'm
tell me.
struggling to find them at the moment, but I took some notes, and I landed on the 8 horse, a horse named Rivet.
Yes.
Let's see, what is the 8 horse at? I'm going to try to find some live odds here. 6-1. I take that happily.
That's right.
So let me pull up these notes. Here we go. We're almost there. All right. So, yeah, I landed on Rivet for a couple of reasons. Asmussen, 23%. We talked about trainer Steve Asmussen earlier.
Yes.
23% in 2-year-old dirt sprints at Churchill Downs. So if you're looking for a trainer who does well at a particular track with a certain kind of horse, this is it,
there
right?
You go.
So very simple stat, but 23% there. You've also got Joel Rosario, who's one of the top riders in the country.
Yes, I would say so.
On board for Rivet. He stays on this horse after a little bit of a disappointing finish, but the horse had some excuses last night. I watched the replay.
Okay.
Had some excuses, and Joel Rosario, 15 starts for Steve Asmussen, specifically in these kinds of races. 15 starts. Take a guess at how many of those races those horses finished in the money.
Tell me.
Take a guess. Throw a number.
I've already been sipping with the White Claw. I don't want to take a guess. I want you to tell
in
me.
11 of those 15
Are
races,
you serious?
those horses finished in the money.
Hot
So,
diggity. Okay.
if you're looking for a horse who's going to finish first, second, or third, I think Rivet's the choice. She says Ferrari Kid. Those are two that I'm looking at. And I also like it a little bit of a price, and I got to look at the current price. King Adrock. It's always tough to sort of project pace in these races because we haven't seen these horses enough.
That's for sure, right.
But I think this horse is pretty damn fast. I don't know where you land on King Adrock. I think he gets to the lead and takes them a long way.
Well, I mean, the sire there was a first out winner. Continued to win 3 more following that start. I mean, you had 4 consecutive wins for that horse, and including the Clarendon and the Vandal and the Swinford.
Yep.
And yes, those are on synthetic, but that horse was handy on dirt as well.
Yep.
And yeah, the mom's Stakes Wing Half Sister was a winner at 2 years old. I mean, there's a lot of precociousness in this pedigree. I could go on, but it would bore you. But suffice it to say, you're right. The horse has a live chance.
And just so you don't have to break out the dictionary, precociousness indicates that in this particular context that the horse will run well early in its career. So that's what you're looking for with these 2-year-old horses. And another one that I thought was interesting, Hurricane Debbie I like a little bit. I did use Tom's Regret. But when we look at King Adrock, it's the same trainer as the 12 horse, which is the Big Wham, and the trainer's name is Luis Mendez. Not as well known, but I did a little bit of research, and I found out that Luis Mendez, he wins at 28% with these 2-year-old starters sprinting on the dirt.
Well,
so
this horse actually has some pedigree too. I mean, the family. The family includes Grade 1 winners Silver Max Gervin, and yes, it's true. And by the way, fun fact for you: the dam there, Magnetic.
Yep.
Bred by somebody we know and love, Liam Benson.
Oh, well, he'll be with us, hopefully, maybe tomorrow.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And also, we have other special guests lined up
That's
tomorrow.
right.
Mike Smith is supposed to be joining us, and that's all credit to her. I mean, she's got the connection. So Ren bringing in Mike Smith. And we've got lots of great guests all weekend. Me and Ren tomorrow, like this, same time, same place. And then on Saturday, we've got a longer show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Danielle Monet, Summer Rae, the WWE wrestler, will be with us, and we'll have lots of great guests.
Are you going to arm wrestle at all?
I do not challenge Danielle to anything. She will completely throw me from here to the TwinSpires. So, speaking of the TwinSpires, let's take a look at those beautiful TwinSpires. How is that weather looking right now? How is that weather looking? Right there, a little dreary.
A little bit. But the spirits are high.
No rain. So that is the key. And, as we look at this shot with some optimism, come to the middle, with some optimism, we also, by the way, we're doing all sorts of acrobatics here behind the set while you're looking at this image. We are hoping that the weather holds out for the next couple of days here, because if not, we are tangled up. If not, we've got to really reassess everything we're looking at. I did handicap mostly for a wet track the next couple of days here. I don't know how you approached it, Ren.
Well, I am thinking if we do indeed have a wet track for Friday, that only moves Nest up even more.
Yeah. And it might. And, we're going to get even more insight right now. Wait, where's your microphone? You need a microphone, don't you?
There we go.
Live TV, baby.
Yeah,
Live TV.
exactly.
Michael Wilson, jack of all trades, former trainer, into a lot of things right now. Equine management.
A lot of hands in different pots, right?
Bloodstock, doing a little bit of everything. Michael, as a trainer, you can first and foremost speak to the excitement of this weekend and what it means to have a horse racing in one of these big races.
Yeah, I mean, even when you don't have a horse in the race, right? You hear my old Kentucky home and you come to tears half the time. It's happened to me multiple times, hopefully not in public too often. But no, I mean, very, very big weekend for a lot of people. It's a dream for almost every trainer, regardless of where you're from. So the excitement, I mean, you can feel it in the air, the music and everything. It's just a phenomenal feeling overall.
Absolutely. Michael, we were talking about 2-year-old horses because that's the next race that we have up here. The Kentucky Juvenile. You've had one or two 2-year-olds come through the barn over the years. How do you know when there's one who's ready for a race like this?
I mean, these are the types of horses that you really get started early, right? They're very precocious horses, and they're kind of built usually for what the task is at this time of year. They might not be the horse that progressed to later in the year. Usually we'd see it at Santa Anita in different tracks. You see horses come out early, and then really good ones come out in June, July, August. A lot of it comes down to how quickly they come to hand, and that happens a lot at some of the farms as 2-year-olds, and then a lot of these guys bring them in early to try and get them ready for what they need to win these types of races. I mean, as we've seen over the years, Wesley's very good with these types of horses, and Wesley has a program built where these horses start very early with him, and he preps them to this point so they're ready to fire on these types of days.
And Wesley, referring to Wesley Ward, of course, for those watching, who, by the way, trains the 11 horse in here, Hurricane Birdie, who looks like she's about, what, 4-1 right now? So 4-1, second choice. Your favorite remains Tom Secret.
My only question with
fading
her.
Tom Secret.
Well, I think Top Secret Regret could win, but I am at that price I'm going to go against because you just don't know. The only question I would have regarding Hurricane Debbie is, again, Wesley's not shy of putting a filly in against the male straight away if he thinks that she's a superstar. The fact that he put her in on debut against the fillies, maybe she surprised him with winning by 8 lengths, and that's why he's now giving her that shot here, potentially. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, she was impressive on debut. I was there at the race. I thought she looked great. I mean, the one thing that's quite interesting at this stage, and I've actually debuted a lot of fillies against colts too as 2-year-olds. Women learn faster than men, typically.
And why is that, though? Is that just sort of like some sort of acid test right off the bat? I mean, what is the thought
No,
there?
so sometimes it comes down to if the race goes, how many horses fill in it, how many fillies are ready.
Yeah.
And so there'd be times, and then there was one time it was kind of funny. I had an owner who had a horse, and he wanted her to run on dirt. And I kept telling him she's a grass filly. And he says, I want to run her on the dirt. And so I entered her against fillies. And she got an eye caught on the stall and ripped it. And so we had to suture it up, and we missed the race. Well, I entered her back next week against the boys on the dirt, and she ran 4th. And so he was like, I thought she was good. I said, I told you she's a grass filly. So she won next out in the maiden special weight at Saratoga, so not bad for a $5,000 filly.
No.
Wow.
But these fillies they learn quickly. Their body type at these young, precocious ages are quicker, so they tend to fare well against the boys, especially if you keep them out of trouble. They don't get beat up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's great insight right there. And again, as somebody who's a handicapper, a lot of us who play the horses all the time, we handicap, we look at the past performances, and we try to see what we could find on replays maybe, but sort of information like that about sort of the habits and the behavior and the general way you would bring a horse along. I mean, those are things that are just like way over the heads of people like me. So I appreciate you breaking it down like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, these are things where we spend years trying to figure it out, and sometimes we never do. So, it's just part of the game.
So we know you're not, you have your hands in a lot of buckets, but handicapper is not one of them that you like to claim, but we're going to put you on the spot. You got to give us a horse here to bet.
So I actually went with a 111 exacta box.
Okay.
I think those 2 fillies look great in here. Their debuts were impressive. Their work tab looks like they're progressing in the right way. So that's the route I went, and then I did another exacta box throwing in King Adrock. He was obviously pretty solid at Keeneland.
That was one that I was excited about, yeah.
So, I mean, those to me are the 3 that look on top, and that look to keep going in the right direction in terms of their work patterns and how they're progressing into a start like this.
There you
And of
go.
course,
I
you made all
love
those bets on TwinSpires.
Yes,
goes with it.
absolutely.
right.
I mean, You know, if they gave me a bigger rebate or, I'd bet more. But
Can I tell you, by the way, I love that Dan said you got your hand in many buckets. Or I think he's got the White Claw on the brain because he's got the ice bucket over here.
I got to grab another White Claw. By the way, I'm going to step out. I'm just going to go grab a White Claw. You guys pick it up from here.
We'll chat about this. Have you been watching
You're a little
the horses?
nervous, so I understand it,
In your presence.
Have you been watching the horses in the morning for the Oaks and for the Derby? And if so, what are your impressions of them?
Yeah, no, I've been coming and looking at some of the horses in the morning, seeing how they're coming along, watching the breezes. Can't catch all of the breezes, obviously. I think the Oaks is a 2 filly race, and it might not be the 2 that everybody thinks.
Can I tell you the 2 I think it is, and we'll see if we agree?
Go ahead.
I think it's between, and that's the obvious horse, but Secret Oath.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think Secret Oath's not getting enough respect.
Could you believe that she was 6-1 on the morning line? I was shocked by that. This filly just ran her eyeballs out in the Arkansas Derby.
Yeah. No, and I think she's the type of filly that could come, late spring, summer. We're talking like a Rachel Alexandra Zenyatta, that caliber of filly.
Wow.
She's just a filly that has a huge efficiency of motion, very big, strong filly, and has an acceleration gear that nobody can match. And so I think it'll be interesting how those 2 fillies match up.
For sure, especially because Secret Oath is another one of those horses who, irrespective of the weather on Friday, she'll take to an off track.
On anything. Yeah.
And I spoke to Wayne this morning.
Oh, you did?
And I went in the barn and
coach.
chatted with him, and we were talking about it, and he says, look, he says, I've watched her train. We've had off weather the last couple weeks, and he says, mud will be no problem.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, Arrogate's by a bridled song.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to lean in here slightly so that we can get the, let's see where we're at. I'm going to try to get the race up for us when they come up. So we're getting ready for the Kentucky Juvenile. We've also got the Unbridled Sydney coming up. I do want to take a look, just start a conversation about the Derby, because we also want your Derby pick, of course. We're relentless. We want picks here.
That's
we
a little
want picks
bit
in
more.
the Oaks. We want picks everywhere. If you give us picks for the Preakness too, we'll take them.
Okay.
Yes. Project.
Let's take a look
Jack
at this
Christopher.
race.
No.
There you go.
Exactly. This race here, I'm going to show you. This is one Ren and I talked about earlier. It's the Florida Derby. There are a lot of horses that we're interested in. I want to see how interested you are in some of these horses from the Florida Derby.
Papa Cap is very game between horses, and Charge It swings into action on the far outside. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. White Abarrio takes over from Simplification. Charge It with the late say down the center. 16th to run. White Abarrio almost home. Charge It shifts ground. White Abarrio still there, and White Abarrio wins the Florida Derby for Safi Joseph Jr. from Charge It in second and Simplification third. Papa Cap ran fourth. The time for the race, 1:50.3.
I mentioned it on my YouTube show the other day, Unfiltered, on Past the Wire TV, and we talked and we went in depth on each horse from a trainer's perspective. And so I said, White Abarrio reminds me a little bit of an essential quality. He's not necessarily the most talented horse in the group, but he's got plenty of talent. He's one of the toughest. He's a fighter.
We like a different tap it, by the way. Just a little hint.
Okay. So, but on the flip side, the most talented horse in the race to me is Charge It.
Okay.
Exactly. I thought
we all
Charge
like
It
the
was
same
more,
tap it.
Yeah. I thought Charge It was more impressive than White Abarrio. To be able to do what he did, being as green as he was in that race. I mean, refresh my memory. Was he on the wrong lead, still trying to finish there? He still got with it. He
was lugging in. I mean, I think he was on the wrong lead. He didn't look good. He looked green.
And to be honest with you, no, I hope nobody takes any offense. I'm fading White Abarrio out of the Florida Derby, and the 2 horses that are standing out for me in there are Charge It and Simplification still.
Okay, I know you don't love hearing that.
What?
That she's fading White Abarrio.
The race will tell all, right? So,
that's right. No, you're right. But this is why it's pari-mutuel, man.
But I mean, Simplification, I watched him this morning. He looks fantastic.
And again, I feel like maybe people are not talking about Simplification as much as they should. Such an honest horse. He's always there.
Honest, and he can change his style up as need be. What ended up happening there in the Florida Derby, I mean, he was out there with Classic Causeway. Classic Causeway capitulates. He still has Papa Cap all over him. Papa Cap, he puts him away finally. And then here comes White Abarrio in Charge It to pick up the pieces at that point. And then also we saw what happened there in the Fountain of Youth and the craziness. and he actually ended up winning that race on the wrong lead.
Okay. By the way, horses are going to the gate right now for the
yes.
Kentucky Juvenile. Ren, remind us, how should we bet this race on TwinSpires?
Honestly, go with your gut when it comes to a race like this, but the horse who, to reiterate, that has me intrigued from a pedigree standpoint, and maybe it's not his day today necessarily, but maybe one to watch down the road, is the 4 Ferrari Kid, who is currently 26-1.
All right. If you miss out on this 26-1, you're going to regret it. So don't. I mean, and that's a good enough price where you can bet win, place, and show. Feel good if the horse finishes third. Get your show money and get your money back on TwinSpires. How are we going, Mike? Here, what's the play? 11-1 exact.
I'm still saying 11-1 exact.
Okay.
I don't know which way it comes out. To me,
And a little bit of King Adrock, you said, right?
A little bit of King Adrock. I put a second one in with an exacta box with him thrown in there as well. So yeah.
Okay.
I want to go Beastie Boys whenever I hear King
Adrock, right? Yep. Ren, I think this is your race.
Okay.
You love the
Oh
two-year-olds.
gosh, don't make me call the race.
You're gonna have to get here. Here's the program right here. You don't have to call it, but at least give us some live analysis.
Who do you think I am, Jessica Paquette?
You can. She would nail this.
I know. Come on.
So they're loaded in. I think the last horse to go in here now is the 12, the Big Wom. We mentioned this trainer, Luis Mendez. You ever cross paths with him, Luis Mendez?
I've seen him. I haven't met him, but he seems very good with 2-year-olds.
I mean, almost 30% with 2-year-olds in dirt sprints. So, well, the 12 didn't break great.
No, 2 broke sharply. That's lone leader, so proving aptly named so far. Tom Segret, the filly, is now fighting back, and she has established the lead.
So who's that on the outside? Is that the 2? So lone leader, and then the 5. So the 5 is Mr. Gordy on the outside.
Yeah, 5 is Mr. Gordy. My 4 is buried on the rail right now.
I mean, I don't mind that spot entirely, do you?
No, but sometimes young horses get very intimidated when they're buried on the rail.
Yeah, my kid Adrock is maybe next time.
Yeah.
All right, so the 1 is going on, and let's see if 111 comes.
No, 11's done.
Michael's going to take his shirt off here in a minute if 111.
He's going to take his shirt off. Dude.
112. That's so big wham.
The big wham.
You think he's getting there?
I think he's going to get there. No, wait.
No, it's over.
No,
it's
she's
over.
got it.
Okay.
She's got it.
Is that the 11? Who ran on like that? Was that the 8 or the 11?
It looked like the 11 picked up the pieces.
From this angle, I can't make it out. I don't know if I need glasses or not, but
look at that.
Well, there we go.
You put any stock into Gallop Out, or you don't care about that?
I don't care about Gallop Outs.
I know you don't.
Well, because the jockey has already shifted his or her weight. At that point, that can offset a horse's stride substantially. So for me, a Gallop Out doesn't mean anything unless I don't know. There are few circumstances where I might look at it, but
you guys want to beef, or are you going to agree with her?
Maybe a little bit. I look at it from a perspective of, and I mean, certain jocks are going to pull a horse up right after the wire.
Yeah.
Some let them continue on out. What I like to see is the horses that are running late, how they continue on out, and see if they just fall apart or if they're still. Maybe I'm looking at different things because I'm not seeing how long they gallop out. I'm looking at how much energy they still have in the tank as they pull up.
Right. And I think that's always a challenge too, even watching the end of a race, not only a Gallop Out, is trying to decipher, is this horse like running faster than these other horses because this horse is actually, he's still running, or are these horses just backing up faster? Are these other horses just tiring at a faster rate?
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to just watching and knowing biomechanics and seeing when these horses, I mean, when we were talking about Charge It, I think Don Chatlow said it best on Twitter was, Charge It was so impressive because he looked like he was drunk coming down the lane. I mean,
he did.
And we all like a good drunk who can actually kind of make it to where he needs to be, finish it off.
Do you know what's also interesting about her, and it kind of goes, you know how they used to always say turf horses do well at Churchill?
Mm-hmm.
Her pedigree's so turfy to me. That was part of the other reason I was like, oh, and her action's a little turfy, but she really throws those legs out there, too, on top of it. So she looks pretty dynamic from a couple of perspectives. But also, how do you feel, Mike? I mean, just paying attention to the West Coast also. The track there in Santa Anita, does it still play pretty deep, or what do you make of it?
I mean, it tends to be really deep. And it tends to be a tiring surface. I mean, I think you see a lot more horses at Santa Anita come home rubber-legged than you used to. That's obviously helped with some of the issues that they were having out there years ago. But it is a very tiring track. So I was talking to Johnny V when we interviewed him a couple hours ago. I was in a gas station parking lot doing a
well, there you go. You got to do it where you got to do it.
But anyways, so as we talked about, I said, Johnny, look, which tracks? And I said, from a trainer's opinion, I would think Gulfstream and Santa Anita get more bottom end into horses coming out of the prep races, and he agreed. And so,
well, this would show another.
And you're seeing a lot of horses come out of Santa Anita and doing well on these other tracks. So Keeneland's a track with a lot of bounce. Churchill's a track with a lot of bounce. There's more clay in this track, but coming out of California where it's just like running through tilled soil.
Well, that's the thing. I remember a trainer last year talking about how the horses training up to the Derby last year here, it was like they kicked off their hiking boots. Yeah. And so they were just moving so much more freely. And so that's part of the reason also that I'm already going to be forthcoming. I'm a table girl for the Derby. I know lightly raced. I know 1883, Leonidas, whatever. But so much has changed between the horses that come into the Derby, how many races they have under them, and then the point system changing the pace dynamic of the race itself too. So why not?
So we know you've got to get going. We've got another guest who's waiting in the unofficial green room here. So we're going to bring them in momentarily. Before we let you go, though, of course, we've got to get your final take on the Derby. We need sort of.
Do I have to pick one?
You have to pick one.
I've got six.
And you could actually look directly into the camera. So we'll hold this.
We're committing you.
Yeah, there you go. Look directly into the camera and tell us what the Derby trifecta is.
So people might not agree with this. So I actually think Crown Pride's going to be in the mix. So if the two inexperienced horses get it done, which I might not agree with Ren on this and say Taiba might not be in there. So for me, I think what's going to happen is I think you're going to see Epicenter, Charge It, and Crown Pride in the trifecta. If I have to pick three.
Dude, if that comes out just like that, automatic legendary status. In my book, you're already a legend. So you don't. And by the way, for those who don't know,
and if it doesn't play like that, I'm going to reverse the order. I'm boxing this trifecta.
For those who don't know all the credentials and kind of what you're up to right now, you mentioned one of the projects you're working on at the moment, but tell us what you're doing, where people could follow you.
So yeah, you could follow me at Michael S.R. Wilson on everywhere. We do a lot of racing advisement, racing management, and help advise owners succeed in the game is pretty much that. Okay. So buy the horses, manage the horses, and just help them be as successful as possible in the process.
And on Past the Wire, you've got a new show that you're doing?
Past the Wire, we've got a new show called Unfiltered, which we just tell it like it is. So,
nice. Well, check that out. And if your Derby picks don't work out, you now know where to find Michael on Twitter
you
to
can
harass
heckle
him.
me. So yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being here. We're going to go to our overhead camera, take a look at what's going on so far. As you could tell, it's still a little dreary, but no rain at all. Ren, that's a good sight, isn't it? No rain yet.
Oh, no, it's raining.
It is raining. Oh, boy.
Yes, we have.
Right on time.
We have moisture. But I knew it. Yeah. I called him Crown Prince earlier. I knew it. I was like, it's Crown Pride.
It's all good.
I'm so excited.
All right, just like that, Michael's been replaced. Michael's been replaced by Megan Devine.
Hi.
Megan, first of all, give me a hug. I haven't seen you in so long.
Too long.
So long.
I know, I'm like from far away. It would look weird if we were leaning over him.
That would be nice.
We've been doing all this stuff virtually. I'm going to actually move this here so it's just a touch more centered, and we can kind of take a look at some things. We'll see racing. We'll see this. We'll see that. We got one more race. They haven't brought out Sydney coming up for our show today. Megan, I'm sure everybody who's watching these channels knows who you are, but tell us what you're up to this weekend at the Derby.
Well, it'd be easier for me to tell you what I'm not up to.
What are you not doing?
I'm not doing a show with my credential on. It's fine.
Oh, there you go.
Rule number one.
As you tried to give mine away.
I know, I did. I stole yours off the table and tried to give it to your guests. I was like, here, take this.
She has full access. She's VIP.
I know.
I think this means free food, too, doesn't it?
I know. It does mean free food.
Can we get a shot of this real quick?
That's mine. Yours is over here.
Free food stamp.
Okay. This is my 10th year with NBC Sports. So I am an E&G producer for them in the mornings, which means all the shots that you see of the horses working out or in their stalls or people walking around the backside or whatever, that's all me and my team. So we are here very early in the morning. That includes being here at 5:15 in the pouring rain.
They better feed you.
Undoubtedly get, exactly, on Derby week. It's all about traditions, right? You know, even if that means just torrential downpour, which we're also going to get tomorrow. And then, I'm helping out with, ESPN Louisville tomorrow for the broadcast. So the Horse Racing Happy Hour, one of my podcasts, does their pregame, or I guess undercard show. So we're on for, I think, 2 or 4 hours doing all kinds of handicapping and talking. And then I help out my now husband, who's the track photographer of Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Derby. And
that's awesome.
I mean, I don't work for him per se, right? Like, he works for me.
He still obviously works.
But I mean, who doesn't want to be right at the finish line taking pictures of beautiful horses?
Yeah,
so
right.
in my spare time.
Yeah.
But what I also love is he does it while dressed as though he should be in front of the camera.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, he does,
yeah, we are a very, I mean, one would say power couple, but I can't say that.
No,
yes, you
can.
said it.
Yes, you can.
But yeah, no, we do. We both, I think we kind of like are competitive with each other. We're like, who can one up the other one in what we're wearing?
You did. I think as you were running through everything you're doing, I think the one thing you didn't mention is that you run a production company too, like just
I
on the
do.
side, like between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. When I'm not running my farm that I have with horses and
with
goats.
everything,
So
a menagerie.
Just 20 minutes outside of Louisville, Cardinal Creek Farm. But yeah, no, I have my own company, Vid Horse. So I established it in 2019. So we do most of the stuff that you see, video stuff for My Racehorse. We run some social media management for a bourbon festival here in Kentucky.
Oh, that's awesome.
Walking videos for the sales.
Awesome.
Pretty much any sort of creative content needs or videography needs, that's what we take care of. So
and you're also, let's just face it, a kick-ass handicapper.
That's right.
So we're going to.
And I did do some stuff for TwinSpires this morning, which is why I'm dressed up.
I love it.
So you blend into the banner behind us. This is wonderful.
Look, we
Yeah,
still
yeah.
nice. We all
Oh, you guys, we
Like
did
you
this
should actually
really
be sitting
well.
in the middle, so
Yeah.
that. Do you want to sit in the middle so that we actually like there's symmetry here? There's like
That's okay. I like the gradual fade.
you like
Just
it?
all light blue. You have some navy. I am full navy. This
Perfect.
works
We
for
like
me.
having a Dan sandwich.
Oh,
There
okay.
you go. Plus,
Yeah.
this is a good side from my fascinating.
That's right.
Perfect. I am happy where I am. I will listen and I will move on to the next race, which
Okay.
is the
I
Unbridled
guess you
Sydney.
should, yeah.
Like with everything going on, I mean, did you have a chance to look at this race?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
good. That's really exciting. But
Obviously.
give you a moment to pull up your notes as we remind people this what you see scrolling on the bottom of your screen are the conditions, which in my opinion are fairly minimal for what you're getting, which is $200 back if you sign up for TwinSpires using promo code BET200.
Okay.
We've also got this code behind us, which we're blocking, but
Right, you can't
well, actually,
scan
there's
it
no
'cause
code
my
for this. This is like once
face
you've got an
is in the
account,
way, but-
if your horse finishes second or third, you can't even scan it now. That's it, whatever. Just go on there, because I did it earlier. I was on TwinSpires this morning. If you've got an account, all you got to do is hit opt-in.
Yeah.
And then your horse finishes second or third, you get your money back.
I know, which is really cool because I actually was talking about that this morning with Joe and Scott up on the set, and it's awesome to use it, you know, if you want to have a favorite and you want to include it there or whatever. There's not a lot of risk. I use it for long shots personally.
Yeah.
So I think I had a horse in here that was a bit of a long shot. Yeah, so I put In Good Spirits as my top pick in this race. So he's 6-1, and I liked quite a few horses at a little bit of value. So, you know, it gives you just a little bit more assurance, let's say, right? Because you can bet a horse that maybe is a bit of a long shot. If it doesn't win, you get your money back. If it comes second or third, right, you get your money back. So
Ren got a little ambitious the last. She went with a 30-1 shot. It didn't quite work out.
I like a couple of those long shots in the Derby, so I'll probably be doing that myself.
and we
Saturday.
want to talk about that.
I'm looking forward to hearing, because if you've been out here every morning and watching these horses train up, and plus, I mean, we need to iterate the fact that she's not only somebody who can look at a horse on paper, but she is a horse person. She's an equestrian, so she knows
full-on weird horse
That's
girl.
right.
That is, I mean, just through and through. Yeah, no, I've ridden my entire life competitively in the jumpers, and then galloped for a little bit at Blackwood Stables, the home of Country House, one of the more interesting
As
Kentucky
we cover,
Derby winners.
and my favorite because it paid me the most money of any Derby
exactly,
winner. So.
Yeah, so I've got a little experience.
Cheers to that.
Right?
Cheers, yeah,
exactly.
Well, let's do this. We're going to talk a little bit of Derby because everybody watching, you know, they're going to bet the Derby as well.
Yep.
But let's talk about this race. You hinted at a horse that you like, In Good Spirits. How do you see this race unfolding? And is there anyone else? Or are you just all about In Good Spirits right now?
I think that it's a pretty good competitive race. The turf races here at Churchill Downs are always competitive, I think, and especially with this new turf course that they've put in, which is super cool. I don't know if you guys talked about that, but
we haven't yet.
It's actually so I got to know the guy who designed it and built it really well, and it's a company in England, and they actually switched up the grass component. So now it's a bit more of a true mixture between a warm and cool grass, which means that they're going to kind of change it as it needs to and grow, because typically the turf course here, riders like Julian Leperoux would say it was really good in the spring, and then by the fall it was just all burned out and there was nothing there. And actually it came to like a point, try to, with the microphone, like this, in the middle
good
of the
usage
turf
of it,
course.
yeah.
And So the horses would run on this side here, but you really couldn't use the other part of the track because they were kind of running downhill like that. And so they straightened it out. So what they did is it does still have a slope to it, a bank, but it's more even. So now they can actually put more paths out there. So the size has changed. They've made it bigger. I think it's 85 feet or something like that, but they can utilize it more. So you'll see that rail be put out further than you did before, and they can use a fresh part of the track, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
So, and they changed the turn it was kind of awkward, and the horses would like go jut out and then have to kind of go left-handed a little bit. It wasn't a true turn. So they changed the slope of the bank. And so the banks are different, and that has really helped horses just have a little bit more of an even run. And it's safer overall, and it's performance-wise, it's better.
So for people watching, just one thing I just want to say, if you're watching this from a betting perspective, does that mean that horses drawn to the outside are potentially a little better off than they might have been otherwise?
I mean, possibly. I think it's going to help in that turn, where you might have a little bit more trouble. Hopefully there's a little bit less, a little smoother going into it.
Okay.
I don't know that I've necessarily, which is a good question, I should pay attention to that with all the races that we've had since opening night, but kind of paying attention to if there's some post positions that have done better now, and compare them to others. I know Santa Anita does a lot with post positions and trying to track all of that, so I'm sure Churchill does as well.
Well, I know from a handicapping perspective, I actually took that into consideration that the turf course is different now, so I kind of just threw out the idea of, this horse has X amount of wins over the track here, because it's not really the track anymore.
Right, it's a different turf course. Yeah, exactly. So it's just an interesting fact. I mean, anything to do with the surfaces and improving it, and better for the horses and better for us as bettors. I think it gives it more of a fair game, and we always like that. So
Speaking quickly of the surface, we're just hearing the noise behind us. We may want to go back to that camera. It is raining now. It is officially raining.
That's because I didn't bring any rain gear today.
Oh, no. Wait, you didn't bring anything out?
No, I was so focused on the rain that's going to happen tomorrow, just the full inch and a half of rain that's going to come our way, that I was like, what do you mean it's supposed to rain today too?
Oh, no. So the good news is on this camera that we have, you can't actually see the rain, so visibly at least. I mean, it's there, trust us, but you can't see it, so it's not coming down that hard.
Right. Do you need me to stand outside the tent and do that weatherman report, where somebody's just being rained on?
I don't want you to ruin your fascinator.
I can tell you that it is raining.
Exactly. Getting blown away. It is windy out here.
My hair does not do well with the rain. It turns into a puff.
Maybe the fascinator will help me. It'll block some of the rain.
I'm Middle Eastern. It just curls and frizzes out.
Obviously, this isn't nearly enough rain to affect right now the surface, unless something unforeseen happens in the next 10 minutes or so.
Right.
We're going to come back to this race, but since, now we're talking about rain, now I'm excited. Now we got to talk about Oaks and Derby. I can't. I got to look ahead a little bit. Have you looked at either of those two races from that perspective with weather? And either way, who do you like in those races?
From just in general, I think I am a huge fan of Nest.
Okay.
I love the way that she won her race at Keeneland. I was taking photos that day with Curtis, and it was just, she was under a hold. I mean, didn't even exert herself at all. She did not even come close to reaching the last quarter of the tank, And so I love to see a horse finish like that in this kind of, this time of year. They're peaking, I think, at the right time. For her, it was like a paid workout. And so I just thought that she was so impressive in that way. So I'm going to go on with Nest. I think, I don't know, I'll have to go and look and see if she actually does have any wet track form, or if she's had to deal with that before.
Well, we could take a look.
Oh yeah, she's 1 for 1 on a wet track, so I'm not too concerned about it. Granted, it was just wet fast.
And even if she hadn't, I mean, she's by curling and out of a AP Indy mare. Come on.
And we've been talking a lot about Nest, so I think it's only right that we at least watch Nest in all her glory here.
Awake at Midnight is in third. Nest is the leader. Nest has the lead by 4 lengths clear in the Central Bank Ashland Stakes. The battle is all for second. Cocktail Moments is running after Interstate Daydream for the runner-up spot, but Nest much the best here with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. Close for second, either Cocktail Moments or Interstate Daydreams. Further back, Awake at Midnight was fourth in 1 minute 44.46 seconds.
Love a good gallop out with their ears pricked, which is just right?
Gallop out. We just talked about
gallop out. No. But no, what she said is different. What she said is a gallop out where the horse looks happy.
happy.
She did. She barely did anything for her. She was like, what happened? But no, I mean, you could see in the middle part of the track, there was a little bit more moisture. You could see the reflection. So they obviously do a great job harrowing the track there at Keeneland, but it was a little cuppy that day. So, I mean, it's going to be, let's face it, it's going to be sloppy for sure on Friday. So that's very different. A wet, fast track and a sloppy track. But I just think she's better than the rest of them. She does have a little bit of speed. She likes to kind of stalk off of it, so I don't think she'll be too far out of it and have to deal with a lot of kickback. And honestly, I probably think she's faster than a lot of horses out here. So if she had to push it a little bit, stay out of some of that, I think she can maybe have a little bit of a wider trip, stay out of some of that kickback. That might be okay. So I'm going to go with her, but I like a couple long shots too.
Let's hear them.
Okay, there's always a few horses during the week that I latch onto just because of physically, visually seeing them and all of that, which can either really help me. It helped me with Rhea Antonia. I had her, and also Princess of Silmar. Okay, so those are my two horses that I definitely saw, and I was like, oh yeah, that one. And then they did well. It can also hurt me because I convince myself that this horse is going to win for sure because it looks beautiful and I have a horse crush on it. And then I throw out all the rest of everything that I have studied. So it goes both ways. But I will say that Turner Loose has been really interesting in the morning.
Loose.
She is
Wow.
so aptly named as well because she's just let me go. She's galloping. She's so strong. I feel bad for her rider. He must be exhausted.
Oh my gosh.
And so I love the way that she's been getting over the track. She really looks so fit. So I've got her. Hidden Connection kind of for the same reasons. Obviously, she ran second to Echo Zulu. Connection saying that both Echo Zulu and Hidden Connection weren't at 100% as far as, healthy, but fitness-wise, they were probably more around 80-90% for that race. Both of them said that because I thought that was something interesting for Echo Zulu, but when I heard from Hidden Connection as well, I think it made that race even more interesting to go back and watch. But
let's actually
she did well.
we can actually watch that race.
That's awesome.
Echo Zulu and Hidden Connection here down the stretch of the Fairground Oaks.
It's Echo Zulu after 3 quarters in 1 minute 11.70 seconds. Echo Zulu charging Hidden Connection. Favored toward the inside as Turner Loose has dropped back. There's 1 furlong to go. It's Echo Zulu who leads against the inside for Joel Rosario. Hidden Connection trying hard on the outside. Favors third. They're close to home. It's Echo Zulu. Hidden Connection on the outside. Echo Zulu and Hidden Connection. Photo finish in the Fairgrounds Oaks. A nose between Echo Zulu looking to remain undefeated, and Hidden Connection tested the champion all the way in the Fairgrounds Oaks.
Yeah, how about that gallop out, Dan? That's what he said.
I'm not even talking about gallop outs anymore. I'm done with it.
Both horses galloped out fine. I think what's interesting and what's good about a horse like Echo Zulu is she did just enough, right?
Yeah.
There are horses like that. Monomoy Girl was one of those. She didn't win by big margins. Obviously, Echo Zulu did in most of her career besides this race, but sometimes they're just smart enough to know exactly what they need to do, and that's it. And they take care of themselves in that way. I find especially with fillies and mares. But yeah, Hidden Connection, had that race been just a touch longer, I think she probably would have won it. She was coming and galloped out just a little bit faster than the rest. So you said it when we were watching it. The more I watch that replay, the more I like her. And
really
what
do.
I saw in the morning, she's really impressive. So at 20-1 for both of those horses, those would be my money back offer horses that I would use for sure.
Yeah, there's something special I feel also going on with Ray Gutierrez and John Ortiz and that whole team. They seem to be riding some sort of wave. Ray, we've done a lot of stuff with him on America's Best Racing. We were with him at the Breeders' Cup when he rode Hidden Connection. The guy's 25, 26.
I know he went to college with my brother.
Did he really? Yeah. He wasn't even planning on being a jockey for that long. He's like, I'm just going to mess around for a little bit. He's like, then I'll go into something, more serious or more secure.
Right.
And here he is. He's turned into this real big success story. I think there's something interesting there. And I do think that horse is his horse, and they're bound to I think, break through and win a big race. I don't know if it's tomorrow, but I think it's bound to happen. Another horse that I like, and Ren, I'd like your perspective on this, because you understand the psychology and sort of the mental happenings of 2-year-old horses specifically, and then going into the early 3-year-old season. When I look at a horse like Nostalgic, I look at the way she won the Gazelle. I know the time wasn't very fast. She beat a horse in Venti Valentine that nobody's talking about.
Right.
But Venti Valentine was loose on the lead, left just a little bit of an opening on the rail, and Nostalgic, in my eyes, was very brave to not only be the only horse that closed any ground late, but to go through that gap and to go on and win that race.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, you can try to train into a horse to get used to being into a situation like that, but for them to really do it and be successful doing it, that has to be in them.
Yeah.
From a temperament standpoint, from a mental standpoint, they have to have that type of confidence to do it. I will tell you, the husband likes her. That's his long shot.
All right, me and Maddie on the same on the same wavelength. That's generally a good sign.
Yeah. So no, I mean, she definitely has the type of pedigree that I think she could only excel in a situation like this, and even on this soft track, come in Medaglia d'Oro over to tap it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's definitely, especially with her speed, some of the horses in here, I was looking at Betty Valentine actually, so we'll have to see Nostalgic, who maybe doesn't have speed. But something you want to consider for running styles over a sloppy racetrack, oftentimes I feel like that speed, you kind of see really carry horses.
Yeah, for sure. She'll be up close enough to it. And then the pace in that race is also an interesting conversation because we know Echo Zulu's fast. This Ugiri, and hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, obviously is expected to go and have some speed. I don't think Ugiri is as fast as Echo Zulu if Echo Zulu goes, but nonetheless, that's maybe a little bit of pace pressure.
Yeah.
We had Tom Law on here earlier. He likes Echo Zulu, and I feel like Echo Zulu, for everything she's done, is being, sort of given short shrift here. Like nobody's really respecting Echo Zulu, which is
I know. And I tried to get a read on Steve Asmussen, and he was like, kind of gave me the indication that he's like, yeah, we're going to try, but we don't know about the distance. Like, I didn't feel that confidence for him, but I also don't know if he's just like being Steve and being kind of quiet and
he's messing around. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So
totally.
I'm just not sure if I want to let him talk me off the horse yet, but she's definitely one to consider.
Obviously, I want to root for her because I do the Breeders' Cup Future Stars forecast. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. She's a Eclipse champion 2-year-old filly, undefeated. You love a story like that.
She was so much better than everybody as a 2-year-old.
And she does have a pedigree that does mature, but at a short price, I just can't take her on top. And I hate saying that because I feel like I'm betraying her. And I love Steve and I love this horse. I think she's supremely talented, but for me, it's Nest and Secret Oath. Those are the two horses.
You're on Secret Oath too?
I mean, Secret Oath. We were talking about this earlier. She's getting so little respect. When I saw the morning line come out and I saw the 6-1, I said, what is going on? You ran third in the Arkansas Derby. You ran your eyeballs out. If you watch that replay back, the beginning of the race, a few strides out of the gate, Cyberknife comes, it crosses over. She gets pinched between horses, has to check up her stride, which is very hard on a horse to do. And then we saw in the stretch, I'm not saying it would have made a difference. I'm not. At this point, I think she was pretty leg weary. But that being said, Cyberknife started to get a little, across the track himself because, he can be a little green. And he was kicking dirt back off his back feet, and it's hitting her in the face, and it's sort of like insult to injury at that point, and she ends up running third. But 6-1, are you kidding me?
I mean, I think in that replay especially, they didn't push her, right? Like, she made the big middle move, and that just wasn't enough there against the Colts, and I think it may have been a little premature. Obviously, they're making a rider change now to Luis Saez, which I think is positive. But what I love to see, and I'll talk about it a little bit with Messier, a horse like that, is that, they weren't ever going to go to the Kentucky Derby, is what Wayne Lucas said. And so you have a horse. You tried to beat the boys. Obviously she wasn't going to get there at the top of the stretch. They kind of knew that. So they continued to ride her out, and she had a good result. But you're not getting to the bottom of that horse. You have to think about it constantly. Yeah, we talk about race to race to race, and when we're talking about the playoffs of the Kentucky Derby, right? But you also don't want to use all your cards there because you've got the big one coming up, and that's the Kentucky Derby or the Kentucky Oaks.
And you also have to consider, talking about the off-track pedigree being by Arrogate, and that's Unbridled Songline. She's got that going for her. Also consider, now she's had a month more to mature. Arrogate was like 17 hands. Consider that as well. So now she's had further maturity and has already been battle-tested.
She looks like a colt, and actually that's something that I like to look for over.
You were there, right?
Over this track. For the Arkansas Derby, no.
Oh, I thought you
were
there.
But just seeing her here physically, I mean, she's got that kind of bigger, burly body style. And I personally like that in the Oaks over this surface at Churchill Downs. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm not a huge Kathleen O fan here, because she is just the slightest, like, most petite. She's gorgeous, but she is just narrow, and she's just very petite. And I think that body type may struggle over this surface. Think about like a Serengeti Empress. There's horses that have done really well that are kind of on the bigger side that I think take to this track more than others.
I like the way you put it, burly.
We're going to take a look now here on this end. If you're on TwinSpires, you can watch this race live. The horse that I liked in this race, by the way, the Unbridled Sydney, the 10th race of the day, is Brooke Marie. Now, again, I handicapped this race initially expecting more rain, and I thought she would do well over a softer ground. But nonetheless, I still think she could be the controlling speed.
So you told me you expected that much rain. I would have bought a rain jacket.
I know. I should have taken. I'm like, hey, by the way, like an hour ago, I'm like, hey, can you join us live on this show for an hour? She's like, oh yeah, I'll be there. I was like, yeah, no, the weather's beautiful out here. Trust us.
Right, yeah.
We don't get rain in this area. Like we're covered entirely. So I like Brooke Marie a little bit, and I also like Toby's Heart 4-1.
And that's who I like. I think that getting back to a sprint, a true sprint, it could wake her back up. I mean, I know she won 6.5 last out, but that was off the bench. They had been routing her the 2 races prior to the layoff. So yeah, I really do like her.
I like Toby's Heart as well. I just think that this distance works better. I mean, I know that like there's not a huge difference depending on the track between 6.5 furlongs and 5.5 furlongs. But if you look, this horse is 3 for 3 at 5.5 furlongs.
Yep.
And I really think that this is more of her distance than anything else.
Exactly.
And so I personally think that that's are they racing or is that Thunder?
I know.
It's a garbage bin.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was like,
oh, come
wait a minute.
on.
I thought there was still a few minutes to post time.
Come on. Yeah. No, not that.
So, I mean, the one bad effort you could really say with Toby's Heart, you go 2 back. They tried to bring the horse a mile into 16th there at Gulfstream Park. Finished 8th, beaten nowhere, or finished nowhere, rather. It's interesting, though, because she has done well in some route races. I just think that this is probably her best distance.
She also, it looks like she won on debut by a large margin over this turf course. Jose Ortiz was up 2nd and 3rd out, won the Bolton's Landing in her 2nd start. Jose Ortiz has been off for a while. He's back on now. Those are just small little things that may or may not mean nothing, but they're little check marks. I do find that returning jockey angle to be meaningful. I think some jockeys have relationships with certain trainers.
Right.
They don't ride for them often, and when they get the call, it's because the horse is live.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I think there's something to that for sure. I mean, obviously that's not the case for a horse like Change of Control, who Colby Hernandez has been on nearly every time, and deserves to be considered as well for Michelle Lovell. I think one of her better horses that she's ever trained, and maybe a favorite in there. So that's a horse that loves, we say, this turf course here at Churchill Downs, but as Ren alluded to, it's not the same. So does that, come into account when you're talking about it? I mean, the horse isn't getting that much love there at 9-2. There was one in here that I went and I thought was kind of good to mention, the 7 at 7-2, Going Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about the last race because the Giants Causeway there at Keeneland, first of all, it was against Campanelle for Wesley Ward, who breathes different air.
Yeah.
And that was a stakes record that day in that race. And so that was absolutely nobody was going to beat that horse that day. But what's interesting is that, you see some comment lines and it says jostled early, and I went back and watched the replay. I mean, that does not do it justice.
Yeah.
This is a horse that had to take back so sharply, lost, I would think, like 2 positionings at least on the backside, and then still made a run to finish a pretty good third to a horse that beat the field by 2 lengths, by over 2 lengths. So, I mean, I wasn't sure what this horse was going to go off at. I don't know if the numbers match up to maybe some of the other horses in here, but it was one of those kind of comment lines when you're looking at replays that absolutely is legit.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, look, if you're handicapping trips, that's a good bit of information. The horse is 7-2 currently, Going Good, the 7 horse in the Unbridled Sydney. We've got a couple of minutes. The horses are moving on to the turf course. You should be watching and betting along with us on TwinSpires right now. Lots of offers. You can see on the bottom of your screen, $200 back this weekend using promo code BET200, and you get your money back if your horse finishes 2nd or 3rd for bets up to $10.
Yeah.
Ren,
and I meant they were coming for my opinion, not me. I misspoke. I'm fabulous, but my opinions sometimes can be trash. So anyway.
Stop.
But no, the final opinion here again, I like Toby's Heart. I definitely agree with you on Going Good for sure. I think In Good Spirits is a horse that we should be looking at as well. So
yeah, I mean, I think for In Good Spirits, there's excuses for poor efforts. Last time out it was soft ground at Keeneland, and Keeneland was one of those tracks that, even when the track is listed good, there's a lot of moisture in it, and so that I think that plus yielding turf course, and then when the race is off the grass, are the only 3 bad efforts for that
All
horse.
right, so we've all taken turns here calling races, so now it's your turn.
Oh, yes,
Oh, no.
good. I don't have to go.
You don't really have
First
to
of all,
call.
I can't even see them.
You don't have to call it, but let us know who's in the lead, what's happening.
Yeah, so the 3 horses in the lead right now, that's Ambassador Luna, who seems to like this track. They've actually run her quite a few times here in Kentucky. Her owner is one that you can hear get excited about the race from a million miles away. But the 2 horse right now, you can actually see Brooke Marie is really, really aggressive. The rider, Luis Saez, has had to kind of sit up a little bit. You can see how high his hands are. She's got a lot of early go. She definitely wants to fight for that lead. Looks like she's settled a little bit now. You've got Change of Control there on the outside who's moving up, and then my 4 horse as well at 7-1. Pretty competitive and has a really good spot from the outside. But this looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting finish because we've got 5 horses there. Toby's Heart there. Change leads and going towards the stretch. Looks like everybody's on the correct lead.
Either 8 or 5.
If Michelle Lovell wins this with Change of Control, she's just done so well with this horse, the 6-year-old mare. Here goes Toby's Heart. There's Toby's Heart.
Oh, you got it.
Nice.
Nice
There we
head.
go. What's up?
Nice.
It's the distance, 5.5 furlongs. I'm telling you.
She grabs the White Claw. Look at that.
Cheers.
Cheers to the Dasani.
Yeah, exactly.
We gave away all the White Claw.
Oh,
You came a touch too
That's
late.
all right.
But we're back tomorrow with White Claw.
Perfect.
So fully stocked. By the way, an official partner of the Kentucky Derby, White Claw.
Uh-huh.
So only the best here on TwinSpires Kentucky Derby Live. Thurby Live, ending with a very
can drop the
exciting
mic
race.
on that.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
that was
that's
nice.
a good
9-2.
one. Yeah, 9-2, some good
9-2
value
is
in there.
You know what? And that's the thing. It's all relative, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, those are actually all 4 top finishers are the ones we talked about. I think it was the 4, 5, 8, and 7.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you
Could've
played the Super, then we were your guys over here.
Exactly.
That was nicely done all around. That was good teamwork.
Absolutely.
It's so funny. The only race I was terrible was the 2-year-old race. Go figure.
Yeah, so you get overconfident in some of these races. And I was telling somebody, like, my history in the Kentucky Derby the past few years, I had Country House, I had Medina Spirit, whose tickets cashed.
Sure. Yeah, I had Mandaloon. My ticket didn't cash.
I'm sorry. I that was not intended to rub it in. I've had a good little run here, and I'm finding prices over the years. I had Orb. I would say probably 4 of the last 10 years I've hit, and 3 of the last 10 have been really good prices. So now at least the obvious conversation, who we're going to pick this year. We did a little bit of a tease of who we like. Let's kind of put your feet to the fire and tell us who's going to win the Kentucky Derby.
Who's your price horse? You're getting all these good values.
Wow. Well, first you go first.
Oh, okay.
You go first.
He doesn't want to tip his hand first.
You go
'cause
first.
He likes
It's
a
a little bit
favorite,
of a tease.
maybe.
I'm trying to tease a little bit.
All right.
After that whole build-up, I got to tease. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's scroll to the aforementioned Kentucky Derby. I got Epicenter on top. I do.
Epicenter?
I just think he's the better horse. I think he's the faster horse. I think he's been so well prepared by the Steve Asmussen barn. He's one that is so fit. He's one of those horses. I know Ren can speak to this. Of like, you know, the barn has said he used to be kind of like a cuddly little 2-year-old, and was so sweet, and you could love on him in the barn. And horses, especially colts like that, kind of do this thing where they win some races. And they realize they are a man, and they are like, "Don't touch me, don't cuddle with me, I'll bite you."
And now,
totally, and he's one of those horses, and you can see that in the barn. You can see that when he schools. They've schooled him quite a bit actually, because with 2 handlers on, one on each side, because he's definitely a handful. He does almost everything, even like living in a stall and earplugs, because he's very excitable.
Oh, wow.
But and he actually, in the shed row when he's walking, he's Scott Blasey was telling me he's got this habit where he doesn't like other horses in front of him. So even in the shed row, he's racing horses. So he's like, he has to get him to walk slowly, because if he sees one up ahead of him, he's just trucking it over to try to pass him. So he's competitive at heart, through and through. I think he's had the right preparation. You talk about some of these races where, was it an off effort? He didn't win this prep race, but he did okay in this one. Maybe a White Abarrio kind of fits that bill. There's some others, a Zandon, right, who avoided Epicenter, by the way, and now he's the favorite against instead of Epicenter, but whatever, that's fine.
That is interesting. It is interesting.
And I think, this is a horse who won his last 2 preps. He finished a really good second in the prep before that. He really hasn't done anything wrong to me. I think on paper he looks like a classic Kentucky Derby favorite, and I'm genuinely shocked
I'm
and
like looking at
thankful
your notes. I'm like,
that
Kate,
he's
I'm
not.
Like, looking inside your notes.
Yeah. No, and
I've been saying that. The morning line for both the Oaks and the Derby surprised me.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised by Nest. I thought she would be the favorite, but the
Yeah.
Derby for sure.
Well, again, Ness, what you just mentioned about her, but then
Right.
also, and I've said this already several times during the show, but Secret Oath 6-1.
Right.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that, right?
Secret Oath's going to be 4-1 or shorter.
I think so,
gotta
yeah.
believe. Yeah.
If she is anywhere around that, I would probably have to crush her over
Yeah.
Ness because we know Ness is going to be very short.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Epicenter was going to be your morning line
Totally.
favorite here in the Derby. I did.
Shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. And people are like, oh, well, you know, the what was it? The Louisiana Derby wasn't as fast as some of the other prep races, but great. Then you didn't have to use up a bit more
Exactly.
energy
Yeah.
than the other ones did. And Steve Asmussen saying that, yeah, it was slower on paper, but it actually allowed Joelle was on him to take back a little bit. So it's all about teaching these horses. We talk about them being young. You know, their 3-year-olds are essentially like teenagers or preteens. And so you're constantly teaching them a new play, a new strategy, you know, to be 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. And for Epicenter, that's what happened. And I want that in the Derby because you can't have a need the lead horse because if they don't get their way, then that's it.
Yep.
And so they actually were able to settle off the lead and still be successful, which is something that he hadn't done so far in his career, and I think is so important.
Let's take a look back real quick at that Louisiana Derby.
Silent Power is last. Zozos, Pioneer Medina, and here's a sweeping Epicenter, who's building momentum. 3/4, 1 minute 11.69 seconds. Epicenter has taken the lead. From the inside, Zozos, then Pioneer Medina, and Call Me Midnight. Coming past the 16th, it's Epicenter, who's kicked away now from Zozos. Pioneer Medina will be third best. Epicenter wins the Louisiana Derby. Zozos was second, Pioneer Medina third, then Rattle and Roll with Galt and Call Me Midnight.
So I think the one thing that people are going to really talk about from that race is the the change of paths from Epicenter. I mean, obviously he was in like the 3 or 4 path, and then you saw as he was, you know, continuing to win, he drifted over quite a bit until he ended up on the rail. So there's a couple different ways I think you can look at that. You know, he wasn't necessarily. I don't think Joelle was using the right-handed stick. Sometimes horses shy away from the stick, and so then they might kind of change paths that way. He did actually switch to his left once he got to the rail to keep him going. He was just hand riding him before that, but changing paths so drastically can also be, you know, a sign of fatigue sometimes. So I don't know if that's what that was. I'm just a little bit confused by that kind of route. I mean, I get it on a turn, right? Because you want to cut in and the fastest way around the track is on the inside. But in a stretch like that, I don't think we always see that kind of a finish. But also, who's to say that, you know, Joelle had been riding the rest of the day of the races and knew that the inside path was a faster one and wanted to get on the inside and keep him going and make sure nobody came up behind, although nobody was going to come up behind. I don't know. I'm not Joelle Rosario. I'll have to ask him myself.
There are so many ways to go with this race. I see you've got. I mean, I'm
You're
sneaking-
cheating.
cheating.
I know. You know when you're in
Crown Pride.
like elementary school and you have those folders up.
I see
Where did your muff go?
I see Crown Pride.
Oh,
Crown
well, let's
Pride
ask
in
her.
there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, he's sort of the buzz horse because he's the enigma. We've seen horses like this coming in, and then, for example, we have like Thunder Snow jumping in like a Bronco out of the gate coming in from international competition. But the Javanese program has been so strong as of late. In particular, this is a horse who's exquisitely inbred to Sunday Silence, one of the greatest horses we've ever seen.
One of my favorite horses. The horse that I fell in love with horse racing watching,
Okay,
which
so-
sort of dates me, I guess, at
Yes,
this point.
so inbred to him, has pedigree to run for days. I saw a work recently, and it appeared that he gets over this track fabulously. What is your take?
I mean, he does. It's really interesting. You talked about it. He's got a different work plan than quite a few horses. Typically, we see horses work every 7 to 8 days or so. He worked yesterday, so that was 3 days before the Kentucky Derby. So he has worked every 3 days, 7 days, 3 days, 8 days, and so that's not something that we usually see. He's got a lot of fans of his warm-up routine, which is just basically a lot of bending and circles, which I personally, as a competitive rider, love myself. I do that with my horses. I think it's the right way to warm up a horse before you're going to do anything with them. So he's done that a lot. A couple weeks ago, he did lose the rider, and the reason for that being that the bell, they were schooling at the gate, coming out of the gate, And they popped it, and the bell went off, as it does here in the U.S., and it spooked him. And so
jarring,
he took
right?
a left-hand turn,
Yeah.
and the rider went over head over heels there. But and I think that may have been the case with Thunder Snow, too. I don't know. I mean, I know there was some, like, sloppy track, and I don't know if he liked that. But the bell is not something that you have in other countries with the starting gate everywhere. And so you have, you know, just kind of a quiet open of the gates, and the horses are used to that. So they have schooled Crown Pride quite a few times in the gate, including after his workout yesterday.
Oh, okay.
You see them school horses in the gate before the workout. Maybe you pop from the gate for your workout. Maybe you just stand there in the gate and then you're going to do something. But to work and then stand in the gate. I mean, that horse has been like, okay, I'm not moving.
So let me get this right. This horse is freaking out, hearing this noise. This horse is like being schooled extra.
Not freaking out though. It just was the one time.
And you have him as your second choice.
No, I do because he's so
Oh, you
fit.
do? Okay.
You have all these concerns about this horse.
No,
and
it's
he's
not
your second
concerns.
choice.
It's really interesting notes watching him throughout the week because of his progression. I mean, he's been here
Right.
for a while, so he's had a lot of time to get used to everything. And
I heard people applauding when he finished his workout.
Really?
Yes.
I mean,
He is.
so he worked 4 furlongs and 46 and change. Obviously, you guys know a good time for 4 furlongs is about 48. And so that's kind of what we normally see, and that's still pretty good. You see that, you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
You know, if you see 49, 50, you're like, oh, that was a little slow.
Yeah.
He did it in 46 and change.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Easily.
Yep,
They
yep.
weren't even touching
How
him.
big is he? I'm just curious.
I think he's pretty average sized.
Okay.
I don't think he's too small. He's certainly not like Taiba, who's the size of a pony. Have you seen
Yeah.
that horse?
But he-
I have a quarter horse that's bigger than him.
You
Really?
know, though, but you know that horse, and to anybody who goes, oh, well, to think that's a negative who's outside of racing.
Right.
Don't forget, one of our Derby and Preakness winners,
Yeah.
Northern Dancer, was like 14.
Well, also, he's a gun
14
runner.
different-
And so Gun Runner himself was not a big, physically imposing horse. I mean, he was really muscular. He was so balanced, well proportioned, but he was on the smaller side.
But one of the things I really liked about Taiba, not only beyond his performances, obviously, but I watched the video of him getting off the trailer. I'm going to sound cliche. He looked like he hadn't turned a hair. And he just also looked very calm and intelligent, looking around himself and taking it in, but not letting anything, the fanfare, the clicks, or anything bother him in any way.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I'm concerned about with a horse like Crown Pride is that he didn't switch leads in his last race.
Okay.
You know, granted, he's gone both right-handed and left-handed, so maybe he was just a little
Sounds like you have a
confused.
lot of concerns
But-
about Crown Pride.
I don't know, man. It's going to be my money back offer horse, let me tell you.
I think that's
20
smart.
to 1.
I think that's smart. Why not? What a great story
That
that,
is a-
would be.
That's
I
a
think
great
out
money
of the
back
horses
offer
that
horse.
they've sent, he is their best chance
Okay.
to really have at least a top 3 finish in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, he's definitely one to look at.
Since I'm peeking, I see
Yeah.
I see her third choice is the horse we're both on, which is Charge It.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
two.
Do you have a little heart around the horses like I do sometimes?
She wrote Charge It twice, it looks
Oh,
like.
I know. I've had to do a lot of
No,
shows.
that was
so
for
I'm
her
like,
bill. She was charging
Don't forget
it.
to mention this.
Yeah.
Gotta write it in 3 different colors.
I love it.
But no, I mean, Charge It, again, is not a horse that I kind of came into this week thinking that I
neither.
would like.
Me neither,
And then
yeah.
I saw him on the racetrack, and he floats. He floats over this track. He doesn't even touch it. He's so efficient in his movement over the Churchill Downs surface.
Yeah.
I saw him in the morning. I was like, whoa.
I'm not going to name names, but I have somebody who's one of the best future players anywhere, who happens to be a really good friend of mine, and he loved Charge It even before Charge It tried stakes competition or anything. He just knew about this horse, knew
Yeah.
about the buzz. And so when we did see the performance there in the Florida Derby, I was like, hot diggity.
Yeah.
He was right. If this horse can put it together mentally,
Right.
he's dangerous.
Yeah.
There's something that you could, again, if you watch enough of these races, I think sometimes even in defeat you can look at a horse, and it's not so much that he, did all that kind of, lugging in and on the wrong lead and all that. It was just the way he finished up. You could tell this horse is going to really enjoy going longer.
And exactly your point, because it goes to what she was saying earlier. Sometimes you'll see a horse drift because they're tired.
They're tired, yeah.
Sometimes
It's not
just
that. Yeah.
completely a matter of greenness.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what you saw.
Cyberknife
Yeah.
would be an example of
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was definitely a green horse. Well, I mean, you're right about that as far as running for days. You look at this horse's form and take a horse like Zandon, for example. And a lot of trainers will take their horses and run them 6 furlongs, even if they're going to be a distance horse. That's your first race, you try that, then you stretch out, see how it goes, fine. Charge It is one of those horses that debuted at a mile. All of his races have been at a mile or over. So from the beginning, clearly in his very, very early training, probably before he was even on a racetrack at the farm, they were like, this is a horse who needs more distance.
Yep.
So when you're talking about the stamina required to win the Kentucky Derby or be in the Kentucky Derby, he's absolutely a horse that should be right there and able to pick up some pieces. I mean, he's the fact that he got the lead, I think, from the 10 hole in his second race, his only win, which was a maiden win, which is a little bit tough to swallow when you're like, oh, he's going to win the Derby, but he's only won a maiden race, so that's fine. But yeah, it's certainly one to consider.
And we're getting short on time here. We're getting close to closing time for today, and then tomorrow we're back at 4:30. We're back on Derby Day at 1 o'clock. But before we wrap up, just to kind of put a ribbon on this whole discussion of Charge It and Taiba, who we talked about, respectively, this will be their 4th and 3rd career races. People have been asking me all week, like, how concerned should we be about how this horse is going to handle the noise? And, most of them have been running in front of crowds of, at most maybe 5,000, 7,500 people on a good day. How concerned, and you both, as people who are very plugged into, again, the physiology, the nervous system of horses, you would know best. A, how they're going to handle that, and B, how do you handle the stress coming out of maybe a 10-horse race or coming out of a 6-horse race in Taiba's case? How do you handle 19 horses around you? Megan, you start, and then you can...
I mean, I definitely think it's individual based. I mean, horses have different personalities, and so you have some that are a little bit more up, you have some that are more calm, so it just depends on that. As far as being... And you can't prepare a horse for first of all, a mile and a quarter and also 150,000 people screaming at you.
Yeah.
So, and also waiting they do it very efficiently. They do it, in twos, I think, on each side
And
now
the rain,
in the
too,
starting
the rain
gate.
coming down hard Saturday, potentially?
Yeah. So, well, hopefully not. Just the
I'm
morning.
hoping
Just
not.
the morning,
Oh,
Dan,
okay,
is
good.
what
Fingers
the weather
crossed.
has said. No, I mean, you can't prepare a horse for that. So you just have to hope that mentally they're mature enough by the time you get to the Derby that they're able to do that. And then as far as being lightly raced, I mean, I think there's two arguments. One, you could say a horse that has had more experience has had more experience. They've been there, especially on the big days, the Derby playoff races, I like to call them. There are bigger crowds. They just are. Those are big Saturdays. And so you've got that on their side. They've handled it before. They're able to do that. But then on the other side, have they had a grueling 3-year-old campaign already?
Right.
Because they've had more racing experience. Is it better to be a little bit fresh, to be a horse coming off a layoff like Mo Donegal, second up, you want to say? And so I think that's a two-sided coin for sure.
Yeah. And you said something about, I think, Taiba being mentally strong. You had that... Taiba.
I don't know how we're saying it. People are like, is it Zandon, Zandon? I don't know.
I've actually confirmed with Zaydon Stables it's Taiba.
Okay,
Taiba.
I'm going to write that down right now in the notes because I'm tired of people asking.
Well, I wanted to make sure it was right because he's actually going to be my pick. Because I was very impressed. It's grueling for a horse to travel even a short distance on a trailer ride, let alone travel in from the West Coast. So I like the way that he carried his weight. I like the way he got off the trailer. But also, for any horse to put up the figures he's put up in just those 2 career starts, first at the sprint, which you can expect in the way he did it, but then putting up the triple-digit buyer while coming from off the pace at a route, that was uber impressive. Now, I know there are people who I respect highly who think it's a huge mistake to put a horse like this in just his 3rd career start in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
And if we were running back in the 70s, the 80s, or even the 90s, or the early 2000s, I might agree with you.
Yeah.
But because most of these horses are pretty lightly raced, and because the point system has kind of changed the pace dynamic of the Derby itself and the type of horses who win it, I think he's got every shot in the world. And I would so love Mike Smith to be able to break, that record that Bill Shoemaker has.
Ferdinand.
Ferdinand. So I just, for a number of perspectives, I think it makes for a great story. And I'm a huge fan of Mike Smith, and the fact that he's still riding at the top of the game. Is just so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one that will be really interesting. I talked to Mike this morning, and he said, he's small, but when you get on him, he kind of puffs up a little bit. And I said, he's got a big booty on him, Mike, because I watched that horse go by, and he does. I mean, he's got a strong hind end, and so I'm really interested to see how he handles a distance like that. Typically, for a body type, I see a horse like that, and I think mile, like champion miler, honestly. And so I'm interested to see if the mile and a quarter
distance,
is what he wants to do. I think a horse like Messi is a little bit more built for the mile and a quarter.
And I do get what you're saying, but I always take it back to, again, a horse like Northern Dancer was just a smaller type, still being able to win not only the Derby but the Preakness, which obviously shorter.
Which
but
the Preakness, I think, favors a horse like that.
Oh, yeah, for
Oxbow
sure.
is a good one. I mean, that track you kind of, the lighter horses, the smaller ones get over it a little bit better.
But when I look at, because you know me, I'm a pedigree person, when I look at Taba's pedigree, I really am intrigued by it because, again, you got the Gunrunner, and then the mare, if I recall, is by Flatter. And the thing to remember about Flatter, son of AP Indy. AP Indy, smaller horse, won the Belmont, won the Breeders' Cup Classic. But then also Flatter's own female family is that of Sea Hero. And if you don't know who Sea Hero is, he won the Kentucky Derby. And if you've ever seen Saratoga, the paddock shots, that statue in the paddock is of Sea Hero. So you've got that stamina there in the pedigree. So I think he can get the mile and a quarter. From that perspective, but you never know until they do it.
For sure, yeah.
Let's save some for tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's save some for Saturday.
Can't give
we
you
hope
all
you've
the
enjoyed.
juice.
Yeah, we've got. Look, honestly, thank
Just
you
the
so
White
much
Claw.
to everyone who's tuned in. We've had pretty steady viewership here all day. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in for this. This has been Thurby Live, presented by TwinSpires. There, right there, is our beautiful spire shot with the glorious American flag, with thankfully no rain coming down currently.
And I got to walk back to my car.
A little bit of rumbling in the distance. There may be a little thunder in the distance. We should probably let you go right now. So we'll be back here tomorrow with Kentucky Oaks Live, and then we'll be back again on Saturday with Kentucky Derby Live. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much, Megan, for spending a few minutes
Nice
with
to
us.
see you guys, and happy to use the Weird Horse Girl useless information that I collect all week and give it to you guys and everybody out there. I've got copious amounts of notes, so it's always fun.
This has been spectacular. Obviously, this is going to live on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere else, so people could replay it. There's a lot to learn, a lot of nuggets you dropped.
Just replay the part where my horse won.
Yeah, exactly. We're cutting a promo on that already. We're processing it. All right. So for Ren, for Megan, for all of our guests here, thank you for joining us. I'm Dan Tordjman with America's Best Racing. We will see you tomorrow with Kentucky Oaks Live.
It can be overwhelming when you come and they play my old Kentucky home.
Ladies and gentlemen, the city of Louisville and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, riders up.
Start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. I'ma meet you at the finish line.